Good morning, everybody. Welcome to My Stoic Circus. I'm 72 the Architect, aka Jason B. And today we're going to talk about what's holding you back. Let's get started. All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to My Stoic Circus. And today is titled What is Holding You Back? So when I read Marcus Aurelius's meditations this morning, and he basically had talked about what are the painful things that truly take responsibility in holding you back. And there was this quote in his book 9 of his meditations. It says, "Enough of the miserable, whining life. Stop monkeying around. Why are you troubled? What's new here? What's so confounding? The one responsibility or responsible. Take good look, or just a matter of itself. Then look at it, and there's nothing else to look at. And as far as the gods go, by now, you could try being more straightforward and kind. It's the same whether you examine these things for 100 years or for only 3. So what does he mean by that? And he means a lot, to be honest with you. He really wants to talk about, quite a few things. He wants to talk about, I'm sure he was reflecting when he wrote meditations about most of these things, like, what am I perturbed by? Is it my own doing or someone else's? And if it's someone else's, what do I need to do to fix the situation? And a lot of times, I would have to say our modern day issue is ourselves. Has nothing to do with anyone else. Now, other people may have some input and they might have some weight in the situation, but what was your engagement? And I remember Jack Canfield would say, event plus response equals outcome. What does that really mean? Um, it's the matter, the thing that's happened or that's going to happen, or it's the thing that you got yourself involved with, the thing that you touched on. So when you think about, what Marcus was saying, he's like, look, if you really want to look at the problem, if you really want to see what's going on here, what's taking place, let's evaluate your involvement. Let's look at every aspect where your mind, your mouth, your physical presence has touched on, right? And a lot of times what we're avoiding is because we had an interest or we had a responsibility. And in either one of those, the actual effort and the attention, sometimes we can be overwhelming. We're scared, we're nervous. We might be afraid of what to do. We're not experienced, we're not educated enough. We've heard comparisons, we've heard about this thing, sizing the situation up before it actually happens. Many of us do this all the time. And I've heard many people talk about it, but I like the way that Marcus Aurelius puts it. He just basically says, hey, why are you being a weenie? Let's really nail it down. Why are you being a weenie? And I'll reread the quote in Old English. And I like the way that he wrote it because it added like a different feeling. He says, enough of this wretched life and murmuring of pishing tricks. Why art thou disturbed? What is there new in this? What's unsettles thee? Is this is it the form of the thing? Look at it. Or is it the matter? Look at it. But besides these there is nothing towards the gods, then now become at least more simple and better. It's the same whether we examine these things or 400 things or 3. So how does that impact us? Self-responsibility is a majority of our problems. I hear constantly people It's now getting into the election season. People are talking about more and more parties. I see, like, for example, when I posted some things on TikTok and it went viral, people were talking about racism, prejudicial divides, elitism. But how does it affect you? How are you involved? Or does it involve your interest? And that's what Marcus is really pointing at. He's like, what's your interest in all this? And if there's no interest at all, then stop it. It's very simple, right? But we make things difficult on ourselves. And when we choose not to make it so difficult and make the simple decision, I have to cut this thing off. I have to stop talking with these people. I have to attend to my profession more than my social ability. What am I, like I've spent a lot of time on certain social audio apps, right? That's my personal reflection. What did it get me? There were moments where I got myself into some trouble, socially. And then there were times I touched on minds and bodies and thoughts and I made impacts. So it's not all for loss, right? But when you realize that, in my self reflection and thinking about, well, what am I avoiding? I was in those places because why? And I understood and I stopped trying to make excuses for it. And people were keeping track of me, what I was doing, what I was saying. People even spread things and take out of context what I said about myself. But does it really matter? In the long run, it can matter, but doesn't necessarily. And it's just a matter of attention of time. Like, what is their interest in you? They are responding to something you did or didn't do with them, and you're not supporting them. And that can be a level of avoidance. Could you solve a problem with somebody? Could you listen to somebody who has a grievance with you? That's the first thing. Could you actually listen to someone who has a problem with you? I think it's very important that when we look at who has a problem, why they have a problem, could it be jealousy? Could it be like you overstepped your bounds? It could be a lot of things. But by avoiding dealing with them prolongs the situation more and more. Like, and or even the events, days, weeks of events. Like, for example, how many people dread Mondays, going to work on Monday mornings? A lot of people do. And then how many people set up the weekend as an example? Oh, I can't wait to get to the finish line. But then you get to the finish line of the week of your responsibility at work. Then you look at your responsibility at home and all those things that come to play, what you weren't responsible at home for. It seems like most of your weekend, and this is my own reflection, most of my weekend is spending time fixing, doing laundry, attending things. And then where's the fun out of it? Where's the rest and relaxation? Well, you've avoided the increments because you're worn out. You gave your best at your job. A lot of people can relate this. They gave either their best or too much emotional energy at their job. And so what's left at the end of the day? There's not much. And this is why I start at 4 o'clock in the morning. Sounds crazy, right? But 4 o'clock in the morning, from 4 a.m. to 7 a.m., I have all this time to do whatever I want. And so what do? I take that time to attend to myself and to my problems and to my relatability and for my self-development. Because when the way that I invest in that, because after 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock on most days, I'm with my beautiful lady, Adriana, and I'm with my daughter, my 5-year-old. And the attention that it takes to invest in them is worthwhile to me. And so when I make my money and I get paid to do what I do, I share my wealth, I give my provisions, but it's like at the same time I'm exhausted. So you have to build up disciplines in all this. And what you're avoiding needs to be included with your discipline. If you're avoiding doing your laundry for weeks on end, if you're avoiding cleaning your house, if you're avoiding taking care of and cleaning your car, you know, everything has a cost. And the more that you avoid it, the more you're just making excuses. And only you're going to have to be the one to deal with it. Everyone else is just going to be like, whatever, man. They lose trust in you. They lose faith in you. So it really comes down to um, a simple subject. What is really in your interest? And isn't it interesting when the word interest, you take interest and you look at what banks and investment companies have for when they have additions, like they're going to make money and you're going to make money according to your common interest. And an interest accelerates. Now, either it compounds or it doesn't compound. It just stays the same. But your interest is based on the viewpoint, where you put your inertia into. And when you avoid many things, especially responsibility and accountability, it's not about everyone else judging you. It's like, what can you do not to minimize, but to eliminate and get it out of your way? And and Marcus really points that out. It's like, hey, you fool, why are you doing this? Why do you keep waiting and you keep expecting a different result? And you'll say to yourself, I need a break. I need this. I need that. If I just had this chance, well, guess what? Sometimes you get that chance and self sabotage comes into play. You're too tired. It's not the right moment. Whatever it is, it gets in the way. And then you're like, you blew it. You blew the opportunity. And there's no one to blame but yourself. But then there comes the next step of this process is like, well, how do I get out of all this? How do I stop? And I really have to point out a few books that really helped me out. One was The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey's. Dave Ramsey, when he talked to my financial responsibility, his book, when it talked to me about what is my responsibility and what is my financial opportunity, I started looking at credit cards. I started looking at car loans. I started looking at home loans, everything in a different way. And then I would have to add in the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert, was it Kiyosaki? I can't remember his last name. Sorry if I butcher it. And then the last one, Think and Grow Rich. All three of those books had reflections, they had thoughts of process, they had responsibility, and they had momentum. I'm telling you where to build responsibility and discipline for your best benefit. So by avoiding, when we get to looking at things that we avoid, we're actually looking at our processes, our habits, our beliefs. I'm not smart enough. I wasn't raised. I didn't learn in school about math, money, education. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. In the long run, it really comes down to, are you wanting to let this thing get in your way or continue to get in your way? And if you don't, it is going to take investment. And in that investment in your works, whatever it is, how to build a discipline, like Dave Ramsey would say, first things first, get an accord of all your bills. Second, start building the first thing, your emergency fund. What is the emergency fund? He would say, well, anything that's like fast cash you can put away that you can access. And he usually prescribes two. And then he'll tell you, look at the way that you look at your bills. You can look at the small ones first, get those out of the way. Every week you save, he would tell you save 10%. That 10% is not touched. That 10% is for savings. Once you build the momentum of savings, then guess what? Now you move that money into an account that builds interest. And as you learn about interest, as you learn about banking and investment, it's a long, tedious road. It can be exhausting. Just give me the easy button, but there's no such thing as an easy button. Oh, no, 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 no. The more you put time into reading those things, okay, now that I know how money is brought in, because many of us will work 2, 3 jobs and will be exhausted, and all that money went into somebody else's purpose. So then he also talks to you about the approach about credit cards. It's not your money. A credit card should never be an emergency fund. You know, get rid of almost all your credit cards as soon as possible. There's no reason to really have them, because if you can't pay it for cash value ends. It's done. It's not going to come back at you later. So you would talk about building the momentum as you build discipline now and saving, learning how to master smaller amounts. You begin in the process of Do I need it? Do I want it? And is it necessary? And if how it answers any of those questions really determines what you're going to spend on. I have family members who constantly spend money on needless things. Like I was talking to my mom the other day, and she was telling me how she bought this water filtration kit from REI 5 years ago and found it. And she's like, "Well, should I sell it online? Or try to sell it to me? I have no use for it. I haven't gone camping in quite a long time. Would I actually need it? I don't know. Don't know until I need it." But if I need it, that means I have an intention of planning to go take trips. So for me, buying that option is not necessary, you know? And when you look at your debts or you look at that thing and it's like, well, if I spend on this, this takes away this longer period of time to paying off this. So I don't have this bill collector or I don't have this responsibility. So if you look at your income according to the total money makeover, how much is going to someone else's purpose and not yours? And that causes a lot of avoidance. That causes emotional avoidance. We do things like we get into, let's just say, entertainment. How many streaming services do you have? Or here's another one. What if you're into cannabis? Look, I'm all for cannabis, but it's a plant medicine. It's not something I take lightly. It's not something I just go and recreationally do for just the hell of it, because all it is it taking me away from my responsibility that I found. But when I do enjoy it or when I do need it, and it's because the medicine purpose in which it's served for is an aid, and I take it as responsible as I can. Not everyone's going to get behind that. It doesn't mean, am I going to do this around my kids? Hell no. This is in my privacy, away from everybody else. And no one needs to, and I'm admitting this on air, but not for to convict me, but it's like, look, I'm a rational human being. I'm 50 years old. I'm not trying to take a test, to qualify to work for anyone other than myself. But I work with other people that could tarnish their reputation. People have these beliefs about these things. And so they avoid being who they are because of what that thing represents. So getting back to the main point, it's that when you're avoiding something, there is an emotional reliance on it. There's an emotional position saying, I don't want to take care of this. This seems daunting, taxing, whatever. And it scales to such a way because you assume so much. And so many people talk themselves out of their own dreams, out of their own opportunities based on what? What they assume, what they don't know, and what they're not willing to do. And there are times where self-sacrifice, it's painful when you work at a job that doesn't pay you well. But did you ever think that if you took the meaning of job, which to me means just over broke, if you took the meaning of job and switched over into a timed opportunity, that means if I had to work at a burger place or I had to work as a waiter, I'm giving it this allotted time, this amount of money of this is going to go towards this. And the calendar date for me to end that employment while I build my skills for the thing that I want to do, that this will stop. This serves me. This is the experience I get. And then it's, I move on to the thing that I want to do. Right. And many of us, I remember when I was a waiter and I was talking to my friends, yeah, I want to go to college. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to go to law school. I'm going to do all these things. Right. And they're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And it seemed like I was there forever. But what I told them, I was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna tell you, but when you ask me what I'm doing, why I don't wanna hang out with you, on Friday night after work, blowing all my money, it's because I believed that I needed to spend whatever money I made that I could go play with, I can invest it in my home, I can invest it in my experience, I can invest in," and I got closer and closer and chipped away to what I want. So, now that it's pretty much I'm wrapping up my points, you have to think about what is going to get you closer to a goal that has you living better and training you how to live better, because it's not like me and my friends. Matter of fact, some of my friends are actually in the audience right now on breakout. We do say like the lottery, and if we won, we've talked about this. We've talked about how and what we would use our money on. But the one thing that I think I've kind of talked about with some of them is, you know, what is going to change about your lifestyle that you need to be disciplined for so that all your money's not blown? Because it will go fast. And the wretched thing about it is that, you know, when the tax man comes to collect, he has no mercy. So it's just something to think about, you know. So how are you training yourself to live in that better sense of being without avoiding your responsibility or your accountability? It's by dealing with the challenge, understanding, don't talk yourself out of it. Matter of fact, I heard somebody say to me, they constantly describe the things that their subject matter was hard. Well, is hard a deterrent or hard as an identification? I understand there's difficulty, but what's on the other side of difficulty? It's done. It's completed. I don't have to worry about it. Once I have the experience, it's not a difficulty anymore. And that's what I tell people. Stop training yourself to be hard and difficult to let's flow and go. So now I have a few guests on my show on Breakout. Gail, hey, how you doing? Jenny, Caroline, and Sarah, welcome into the show. So my question, this is the Q&A part of the show. My Q&A for you guys, is there anything that you've avoided recently and you know you needed to attend to it, but you haven't and realize it's very important that I attend to it? Out of anyone can answer this question. Just out of curiosity. Let's see if anyone has anything to say. I don't know why I can't hear Jenny. Hold on 1 second. 1 second.
Today. He has issues with you, Jenny? Yes, he does. He does. I'm so toxic.
Hold on a second. Hold on. I'm reconnecting. Okay. My mic or my Bluetooth was just like on the fritz. Ooh. Okay, there you guys are. Now I can hear you loud and clear. Okay, go ahead and say what you're going to say.
I was going to say that, what was I going to say? No, not the chocolates. Answer your question again, Jason.
Okay, is there anything that you've been procrastinating or neglecting that you've been avoiding to deal with, but you have to deal with it now?
Cooking.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a daily one, right?
Yes, it is, and it's a pain in the ass.
Right. So, is there ever a time you enjoy cooking?
Yes.
And when is that?
I love cooking when I have fresh groceries in my house.
Okay.
With everything, and that's when I love to start cooking and inventing and doing things. But when I don't have too many things and it's like getting low with my supplies and stuff, it's like, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to touch anything in there. It's like, oh, I don't want to cook. Even though I do have little things here and there to like whip up, but I like to do it with fresh ingredients. And I don't know, it's just so weird.
That's a great example because if you really think about it, our nutrition is dependent on fresh ingredients, low preservatives, and it has the right portion and the nourishment value. And if you don't get the right nourishment at dinner or breakfast or whatever your meals are, how do you feel? You don't feel good.
And for Jenny, that probably it makes it worse because then you have that daunting task to know that you got to get ready to get in the car, to go to the grocery, to get those fresh ingredients and then get back. And perhaps then you feel like you might not have, enough time to do it by the time you do all that. Is that possible?
Well, you know what, Caroline, I have a grow tower where I'm growing all my vegetables and fruits. So, and even when I do go to the groceries, I put everything in my cart and then I just have it either delivered to me or I go pick it up at the, just pick it up at the store. I barely go into the groceries store anymore. I do everything online and pick up.
So that's an interesting perspective because you're actually creating a supply for your need. Your need is, I need fresh ingredients for a great meal that I'm going to enjoy, so I don't hate cooking. But if I'm at my supply, my bare bottom, what are my choices? What are my tendencies? That affects so many people, especially here in the United States. The amount of people with the knowledge of cooking, nutritional food, eating salads, in which I don't eat very much myself. Why? Because I'm always on the go. But because I'm taking my health seriously, I understand that what is at stake. I have heart issues. I have cardiovascular issues. My diabetes can be out of control. I don't have enough energy or concentration. I have brain fog. These are results and symptoms of a problem that I can identify with you. I don't like cooking. I can do it and I can do it well. But what puts my feeling into the part that I don't like? Is it because I have the low supply or the low energy? Well, do you see it's kind of like a recycling effect? One thing affects the other. If I don't get to bed on time, if I don't get a good night's sleep, I'm going to wake up tired. I'm going to wake up grumpy. And then I need something to pick me up. What is the first thing that we all tend to do that could be bad for us, depending on how we have it? We'll go to our coffees. Last year, I think June was the last year of 2022, I stopped drinking coffee regularly. I started drinking a product called Mud Water. And, for those listeners and viewers on YouTube, I'll share a link that you guys all can definitely appreciate. But what I'm going to tell you is that when I drink Mud Water, it's a result of not wanting to drink caffeine and cream. It is a result that I'm drinking other ingredients, turmeric, mushrooms, like Mediterranean sea salt, ingredients that actually have a nutritional value for me, that don't give me the jitters. Now I'm more focused. If I don't have, how like your first cup of coffee kind of gives you like the boost. It's like, okay, I'm ready to go. And now it's like at 10 o'clock, you start feeling the drag or the slump. It gives you a brief high, but then it drags you down. Well, what's going to stop that? Well, for Jenny's case, she's making a solution. She's growing. So Jenny, real quickly, so I don't avoid the other guests, real quickly, what do you grow on your grow tower that is a good supply that you don't have to go for the grocery store for?
Oh, wow. I can grow a lot of stuff. Right now, I'm growing lettuce, arugula, and tomatoes.
Mhm.
But you can grow cilantro on there, leeks, parsley, dill, rosemary, or oregano, thyme, spinach, basil, cabbage. I mean, you can grow practically anything. Broccoli, cucumbers.
Right. That's what you can, but what do you grow now is the key. What do you grow now that will save you money in the long run?
No, right now, lettuce.
Okay.
Because my mom loves lettuce, and I've been growing lettuce and arugula.
Okay.
My next one is going to be spinach. So I'm trying to get all the greens.
Right. So would you end up getting another? I mean, how many grow towers would you need to eliminate a big cost in the grocery store? Like, if you really to think about it.
Oh, wow. If you really think about it, I would say about 3 or 4.
3 or 4, right?
Right
And that
now, I
takes
already have
space.
2.
Right, that takes space.
Yeah, they do take space, but not as much as you think. Because if you have wheels on it, you can move it around anywhere, which is great. That's the one I have. We both have that with the wheels. So I can move it anywhere around the
So
house.
you can move it towards the sun or out of the sun, move it into a workable space. So that's an interesting investment. And overall, and we've kind of talked about it, and there are a lot of different platforms that sell grow towers. You can find them on Amazon, you can find them Juice Plus, you can find them in a lot of different places. But the point is that you're eliminating the dependency of a supply chain that, let's face it, what costs at a grocery store is crazy. For a bag of potato chips, let's use this. I had the munchies. I was just like, okay, I want a bag of chips, right? and I have whatever my drinks at home. Well, I remember a bag of chips could cost $2, maybe less. And now out here in my grocery store, a bag of Lay's, say like Ruffled chips, is $4.95, $5. It increased 50%. Why? Well, for whatever the reason, the cost, the expenses, the company wants more money. See, the money that they make is determined on what marketable price that people can live with, what they think you can live with. They collect all this data. But I look at the health risk benefits of a bag of potato chips. It has a lot of salt, has a lot of preservatives. So what I end up doing, talked myself out of it and said, "No, I don't need it. What can I have instead?" And it got me thinking. I have a dehydrator in my shed that I haven't used in a long time. I can make my own healthy chips, taking apple slices, right? Let's use that. Or taking okra, taking things that I could dry or dehydrate myself instead of creating a cost, you know? And so it gets back to your point about cooking. If you had more things in supply, say like Jenny, if you had more things canned, so to speak, like certain vegetables or fruits, would it make a difference to how you felt about cooking? Okay. She might be away.
You know how those chips they always put them on sale, like buy one get one free, or 2 for $5, or two
But are
whatever.
they really?
And then when you get it, it's like it's not even full. It's half empty. So I don't even buy those chip bags anymore.
Right.
It's
Do you look
just
at the amount
a
of
waste of money.
ounces? Do you look at the amount of ounces
Yeah.
in the bag? And it's if you weighed that amount of ounces in a potato, right? Do you think you get the same value?
That's a good question. That is a good question, because there's certain products that I noticed, like the Coca-Cola, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed that the bottles are much smaller, but when you pour it in a cup, it's the same amount. And it's so weird how that is possible.
Mm-hmm.
How is that possible? Yeah, because they make it fat. It's so weird how the size of it used to be a regular normal Coca-Cola. They made it smaller and thinner or whatever, but it's the same quantity of Coca-Cola in each bottle. And I'm like, how is that possible?
Well, here's an interesting thing about Coca-Cola and the bottles. Okay, so you have different sizes of the container, right? It costs more to make the smaller containers out of plastic than the bigger ones. And that's why the sales are an illusion. When you look at the unit price, like what it actually costs to make it and distribute it and put it in a store, it's more expensive to put the smaller stuff on the shelf. But does everyone else want to buy the bigger stuff? Does everyone else want to buy a 2-liter bottle or a case? Like a case of an 18 pack, let's say where my grocery store is, an 18 pack of Coca-Cola, which they used to come in 24s, now costs $12.99. Now
Just about, yeah.
Now
Yeah,
here's
an
the
18.
sinister thing. Now a 12 pack will cost you $9.99. So the difference between 18 and 12 is what? You've got six cans
Yeah, 6 cans extra.
more for this
Yeah.
price. Are you saving more on the 18 or spending more? Well, it's an illusion. But see, if you take the same thing and let's say I go to Costco, right, as an example, and I buy a flat, which is usually like 24 to I think it's 36 for $18. 36 from 12, 18, and 36. So I got 2 times the amount for $18. That's a sale. Because the unit price for the flat is cheaper because Costco made a deal with Coca-Cola and said, "Hey, because you sell wholesale items, bulk items, here you go." But in the average grocery store, they know you're going to go there more frequently than you are going to go to Costco. You're not going to buy. And then all the bad shit that comes along with drinking soda. Soda has ruined my life in many ways. It drove up my diabetes. So the risk health benefit is even more costly. It ruins your teeth, does all these things, right? And I'm not here to disparage all that, but the point is, it's how we view things. And if we're not conscious about our choices, we avoid other important things that could really need our attention, you know? So Caroline and Gail and Sarah, is there anything that you guys avoid or have avoided and you have to deal with right now? Anyone else can answer.
Trying to get right for appointment.
Trying to get what?
I'm on my way to my appointment, but sometimes, like, right now is one of those appointments that I don't want to go into, and I've been trying to avoid it, but I can't. I don't should. Now I know I shouldn't. So
What is the benefit? What is the benefit of going to your appointment?
my
I'm sorry.
so if I don't go, then I'm sorry. What?
Your signal's going out. So from what I'm getting, and I kind of heard from you, is that your benefit is you're getting treatment for something without telling us what it is, but you're getting treatment for something you're going through, and that treatment will eventually provide a cure, right? You won't have this problem, hopefully, for whatever it is. But if you miss that appointment, is that something more delayed against you that hurts you in the long run?
To a T, yes.
Yeah.
I'm getting my mental health checked.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And
Yes.
mental health right now
Welcome.
is the biggest commodity in healthcare right now. Mental health, as it stands, costs more money on average than you even going into surgery. Believe it or not. This is how serious it is. And if we look at the mental health sources, why we are the way we are, why we behave the way we do, why we believe, it starts with your beliefs, starts with yourself. It starts with your actions. And by not, say, like eating right, surrounding yourself with the right kind of people that uplift you, sleeping, following through with your word, eating right, putting your attention into interests that make compounded interest, that make you a life profit. And so when we look at avoidance, it's really like the biggest amount of interest, and the best way you can see that is look at credit card interest nowadays. There are some credit cards with people who have bad credit have 35% interest. 35%. I've seen, that's the worst I've ever seen it. And if people quantified how much 35% is, that's huge. My current credit cards maybe have 7%. Why? Because I pay my payments on time. I paid off my balances. I don't borrow more than I can spend. I understand. And trust me, there was a time where I had 9 credit cards. I was 35,000 in debt, and it sucked. I couldn't get a car when my cars broke down. I couldn't, when I was in financial trouble, all these things. So, all these topics you guys are touching on, mental health, is a result of what? It's a result of your interest and your investment in yourself. And if you're avoiding a lot of things that make the best out of you, then what are you doing? So we have to really think about, where can I put my best investment out of the day? So thanks, Sarah, for sharing yours. Caroline or Gail, would you care to share what is something that you've avoided, but now you have to deal with?
Well, good morning, and
morning.
shout out to all the brunettes on stage. I couldn't resist that. So, yeah, with me, I have a habit, Jason, of putting things off if it is something that I want to do, but it is something that I've not done before.
Mm-hmm.
So, like a recent example is, I think I told you one day I'm getting into lawn care. And so I've ordered all of these chemicals And, you have to be careful. They're dangerous, to mix. And so I kept putting it off because I was afraid, that I was going to, hurt myself. I mean, I wore my PPE like it said to do,
Mhm.
but at the same time, I haven't done it before, and I'm afraid, what if I spill it all over, mess the dyes up, and whatever. So if I haven't done something before, I will avoid doing it. And that may not make sense to some people, but I do. And then that just causes me stress because it's like, okay, I know I need to do this. I need to apply it before it rains. So it might be forecasted to rain in 48 hours. But if I put it off till the next day, then I'm not going to have enough time for it to work effectively. So, it has ramifications when I do avoid things if I don't do them when I should be doing it.
Right. And I think that's the key. I think if you approach it, no, I believe what your interest in lawn care, whatever. I mean, we've shared that, SB mowing is something I watch, you watch, but it's the effect of what the mowing and lawn care it makes your home beautiful. Guess what? Once you add, that beauty effect on your home, it looks nice, it looks great. It feels good. You create that discipline of doing it. And the more that you do it, you have a rhythm. You have now a habit. Now that habit turns into a belief. That belief turns into results. So if you approach it like instead of like, I don't know what I'm doing, but hey, I'm going to figure it out along the way, then it's not such a problem. But I think what happens is we size up the situation more than it needs to be until we're actually doing. And when we think about what we're actually doing, why we're doing it, the investment, the interest, and the result. When we look at that, then it's like, okay, now I understand I'm not going to approach it with the same attitude. I'm not going to dread this because I know I like the way it feels. You could put that the same analogy to like making your bed every day, right? Making your bed every day. Me, considering I served the United States Navy where you had to make your bed every day and getting those fresh sheets to me, like personally at home, when you get that 800 thread count Egyptian cotton and you slide into bed, that's like to me the best massage that I could get where I don't require somebody else's hands, right? So when I get in that comfort zone and my TV's off, nothing's on, and I go to sleep without even trying to go to sleep. I go to sleep. I'm tired and I wake up and I'm rested and then I can get up at 4 and I can do my time, then I can eat right and then I can do all these things that benefit me because I'm compounding the interest in myself. And so are you. So by you doing that, the more you do it, Caroline, the more it creates a compound interest. You have the experience. You went from I don't know to I understand, and you can make an impact on others. And then you can do other things that make impacts in other areas of your life. So one thing can teach another. Thank you so much for sharing. Gail, would you care to
Thank
share?
you.
Is there anything, Gail, you'd like to share about anything you've avoided and now you have to deal with it?
No, I don't think I've lately been avoiding anything. Usually, no, I don't think anything lately. If I avoid anything, it may be doing the dishes, things like that, vacuuming the floor, but not for very long. Uh, yeah, that's about it.
Well, that's
I've been
good.
pretty good lately with not avoiding anything. Yeah.
Right. And I like that because like there are some things where you can say, maybe when I get home, here's one big thing. When I get home and I'm with my lady and I'm with my 5-year-old, one of the first things I do within the first 20 minutes, I'd have to say, is I go and I take out the trash, I do whatever, the cat litter, I do stuff around the house, quick little, touch up. And then I sit down and my 5-year-old is ready to jump on my lap. Daddy, I do this. Dad, I do that. And I attend to my little one, give my lady a break. But a lot of times she's cooking and she makes wonderful meals. She makes a lot. And then when we get to sit down with each other, when we talk with each other, that's family time. That's relationship time. That's, you know, it's a beautiful thing. And so that creates an interest, and like lately we've been walking. We walk a mile to 2 miles, sometimes 3 in one day. I think the most we ever walked was 5 miles in one night. And we said, instead of we're gonna watch TV and trying to find something interesting on our phones or trying to be entertained, hey, let's go for a walk after dinner. And we'd spend time talking. We'd spend time outside. It's nice weather or it's tolerable. It's like at dusk. We get our exercise in. And guess what? We're not so tight, stringent, or just, not comfortable. And when you're walking and you're talking, now you can express yourself. So that's one of those things that can be a beautiful thing. And we have to realize that when we create something that makes other things in the long run, the avoidance factor, what you're avoiding, doesn't exist because you've built the rhythm, the discipline, the habit, the momentum to be in that place. So yeah, that's pretty much it, you know, for today. And I want to thank you all for attending. I appreciate you all. I I didn't advertise today, but I'm trying to figure out my schedule for now that I have my website, now that I've got my YouTube thing organized, I got my intro. Now it's time to put a calendar. Mondays, I'm involved with the big idea, and this Monday we have a special guest. I believe we'll be on Clubhouse and Zoom or YouTube. We haven't figured out the video part. We're working on that now. And we're going to have a guy, he's called the AI Surfer. And this guy is teaching people how to prompt your chat GPTs and your AI programs to work for you. And he's a great guy. You can go to the aisurfer.com. You can find him. You can look him up, the AI Surfer, on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. Great guy, has a lot of information. So Mondays at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern, I'll be on the big idea. And I believe this Monday we will not be producing on Breakout because we want to take this interview and make it the best we can because it's going to have a video element. So make sure you tune into that, and I'll give you guys details over the weekend. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming out. We'll see you all next time on My Stoic Circus. I'll post a schedule. I'll be coming on and doing more shows, but we'll see y'all next time. Hopefully you guys got something. So have a great morning. Enjoy your weekend. Get something out of it. Do something to work on yourself and look at what you're avoiding that can actually be an opportunity. Thanks, guys. Take care.